Okay, Joey Logano has joined us now, and Joey's our most recent winner in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, winning last week at Pocono. Big weekend for him last week at Pocono, and Joey running double duty here this weekend at Michigan on the Nationwide Series. He'll be driving the number $18 General Toyota for Joe Gibbs Racing, and in Sunday's Quicken Loans 400. He'll be driving the number 20 Home Depot Toyota for Joe Gibbs Racing. But, Joey, I know you got to feel really good about really how you've been performing throughout the season. And then the win at Pocono in the Sprint Cup Series, you're up to 15th in the points. You become a player as it pertains to the wild card berth in the chase. So just talk about your mindset now coming to Michigan and how your test went yesterday and how your car feels today in the Nationwide Series too.
Yeah, we've been on a roll here lately. We just got to keep that going. We've had a lot of top 10 finishes on the Sprint Cup side, and on the Nationwide side, we've been able to knock off 4 wins here. So we just got to keep that rolling. I thought we had a pretty good test yesterday. I think our car is pretty good. We'll race the same car that we tested yesterday. So we just take all the data off it and, some of the other things, and then we'll practice it today. And we did the same thing last week, and I felt like our Home Depot car was pretty good. I felt like we were able to get our car decent beginning of the second, test session there yesterday, and we were pretty good on the front side and fell off too hard on the back side of our run. Then we were able to switch it up and been decent on the front side, and we hung in there pretty long. So I feel like right now we're one of the better cars out there, and we just got to keep working on that. And we were in this position last week that we had a really good car, and just got to make the right adjustments from here out to make sure we keep it a good car, because it's easy to get caught up on where the track's going and what's going to happen, and you just got to kind of be aware of what you think is going to happen in the beginning of the race.
Okay, we'll take some questions now for Joey. We'll start over here with Mike, and then we'll go to Reed.
Yeah, Michael Brunel, Detroit Free Press. Joey, is it your time to shine now? You've got a couple of really great teammates, but you've been around a couple of years. But is it this year, is it time for you to really burst out?
I've always thought it was time for me to shine, so that doesn't, this year doesn't change my attitude any, but, winning races and stuff like that obviously makes it look like that. So, that's all right with me. Yeah, I think we, have had some really good cars here lately. I think Adam Stevens and Jason Ratcliffe have doing a really good job on both race cars, and giving me what I need to win races. So, they're giving me the stuff, and we're making the best out of our opportunities out there.
Let's go over here to Reed, and then we'll go to David, and then to Jim.
Reed Spencer with NASCAR Race Service. Joey, you're in a position now where one more win would do you a lot of good as far as the chase is concerned. You're also not that far out of 10th place. So how do you approach the next 11 races before the chase? Do you try to go for points and consistency, or do you try to win that one more race?
Well, I think there's a little bit of both. I think you always have to go out there and get the best finish you possibly can. But if it takes a chance to win a race and you have to risk something, if you're in that position to win a race, you better take that chance to win that race, because that's going to be very important. But at the same time, you don't want to, cost yourself too many points by taking that risk, whether that's, doing an aggressive move on the racetrack, or that's, risking, pitch strategy, fuel mileage, something like that too. So I think you got to weigh the consequences out before you do a lot of things. And look at what Junior did last week. He weighed it out in a different way than we did. So, there's different philosophies on everything. But I think when you ever have a shot to win, you got to take that shot, because they mean so much. And these races are hard to win. So anytime you get a chance to win a race, you want to take it, because found out it's pretty fun to win these things.
Well, let's go over here to David, and then to Jim.
David Newton, ESPN.com. Joey, you came through or come up in an era where the cars are safe and you don't feel, I guess, threatened when you get into a race car like they may have 15, 20 years ago. When you get out here with these speeds like they were yesterday, does that throw a little more maybe fear or whatever aspect into it, and you think that's good for NASCAR?
Well, it doesn't make me scared, but I'm probably not smart enough to be scared. So, I think our cars are really safe, and, I think it's I'm not really worried about it. Now I think if we have a tire issues or right fronts are blowing out, it's going to hurt a lot. But as a race car driver, you don't think about that when you're out there. And I think if you do think about it when you're out there, you probably don't belong out there. So, there's always a risk every time you strap in a race car, and I think everyone notices that. But I think we also notice how much safer a sport is compared to where it used to be. So. I guess it's in your mind, but it's not in your mind. It's not in your mind when you're out there. You're out there racing, and you don't think about it before you make a move on somebody about, man, if we crash, this is gonna hurt. That doesn't go through your mind. You're out there, trying to win races.
Let's go with Jim.
Jim Noble, ESPN. Along similar lines, I'm sure you remember back when Bill Elliott and Buddy Baker were, turning 200-mile-per-hour laps. Is there something magical about that number for a race car driver, hitting 200? I know you said you don't think about speeds per se, but when you pull the sheet down and you see 200, is that like, wow, 200 miles an hour? Yeah,
I think a 200-mile-an-hour average is really cool. I think that's something really neat. And, I think you'll see a lot of cars qualifying, tomorrow with the 200-mile-an-hour average, which is going to be really neat. I remember the first time I hit 200 miles an hour at an ARCA test at Kansas. And I thought that was the coolest thing. I was close. I was looking at the data, and we were, 199 this, 199.5. When I was like, man, I want to get 200. That'd be really cool. And, I think I was like 16 or 17 at the time. So I thought that was the coolest thing. But now, it's just it's a number, but it is cool to see it.
Let's go to Patrick right here, and then to Jim.
Patrick Levy, NASCAR Productions. Joey, there's been a lot of racing on new pavement this year. You came off a win last week at Pocono. There's high speeds here today at Michigan. A few weeks out, we'll go back to Daytona for the Coke Zero 400. Do you expect anything going back to a track the second time around and this year?
Yeah, I think anytime you come back to a place a second time, especially with myself, with the new crew chief, is going to be a gain for sure. Daytona is a beast of its own. It's going to be, Daytona and a nationwide car here is going to be actually pretty similar. But, that's when you come to any of these racetracks coming up for the second time, that Jason and I are going to have a notebook on now that we can, go off a lot of things that we worked on the race before. I think it's going to help us. We've been really able to, when we've had bad races, we've been really able to diagnose where we think we went wrong, and you want to put those theories to a test and see if we fixed it. So you're excited anytime you come to these racetracks second time, especially with the new crew chief.
Let's go up here to Jim, and then we'll go to the gentleman here on the far left. Right over here.
Jim Hutter, Charlotte Observer. As an organization, Joe Gibbs Racing, you guys have kind of had a really big high and some lows. All three of you have won races already this season, but you've also, all three of you, had kind of some inconsistency. Kyle's had a couple bad engines problems the last couple of weeks. When you guys are talking about the season thus far, which one stands out the most? Which side stands out most for you guys?
I think we focus on the positives. Something that you always want to focus on, but at the same time, you can't lose focus on the problems you had and trying to learn from it. So I think you need to, learn from your mistakes, learn from, Kyle's engine problems last week, learn from a bad run that we had at Charlotte, learn from it and forget about it. Because if you keep dwelling on it, you're not going to, help the morale of yourself or your team, and it makes it even harder to fix it, to get yourself out of a hole. So, we got to be smart enough to look at where we went wrong, and then come up with an answer and forget about it, and then go on to the next week.
Far left, right here.
Over here. Joey, Jimmy Howard, the Red Wings goaltender, is going to be out here Sunday as Grand Marshal. I know you're a former goaltender yourself and a hockey fan. Just wondering if you're hoping to meet him and maybe compare notes on your respective professions.
Easy with the term goaltender with me. I let a lot of them in. But I think that's really cool. I'm a hockey fan, so I think it's neat to, anytime any different athlete comes to our races, I think it's cool to meet them and talk to them, because we do have stuff in common with them. They go through a lot of same stuff that we go through, and as far as the pressure stuff and all that. So I think it's cool. I think it'd be really neat to meet him, and you have a lot of respect for hockey players. Watching them train and how hard it is, and how talented those guys are, how quick they can be, and Their hand-eye coordination with passes and all is amazing to me. So, yeah, it's cool to meet guys like that for sure.
Go back to Patrick.
Patrick Levy, NASCAR Productions. Joey, next week we go to Sonoma, the first road coaster race of the season. Do you approach those races any different from racing on the ovals?
Yeah, you do. You do some things differently. You prepare yourself in a different way, I guess, because you're doing things a little different. We did go to VIR and do a test there with our Home Depot car, and I think that went well. There's a lot of cars up there too. There's probably 30-something cars there. So, a lot of guys are preparing for it. I think as a driver, you do about everything you can to get used to the track again. So you're, on the iRacing sim or whatever, and just getting yourself back in the groove. And the typical stuff. You watch the tape of the race from before, and you go over your notes from last time, and kind of figure out what you wanted to work on when you came back there again. So you're just trying to, get yourself back into road course mode. It's just a little bit different as a driver because we don't get to do that every week. So it's a little bit of a challenge going back and forth. But I think after last year, we've had some really good runs there on the road courses last 2 times we were there. And I had a lot of help with Max Pappas and all that. So I'll call him up again and just get ourselves back in the right mode and try to do it again and finish a little better than we did last time.
Let's go over here to Reed.
Reed Spencer, NASCAR Wire Service. Given that you're now flat out around here in a nationwide car, what kind of race do you expect tomorrow? How much drafting, and do you think anybody's going to try to push all the way around the racetrack?
We can't push all the way around the racetrack. I know that, but I think the race is going to be pretty cool. I think it's. I got behind the car, and the draft you get is unreal. So you're like, wow, this is going to be pretty crazy. And I think if this track widens out, right now it's maybe 2 lanes wide, ish, and I think if it widens out, it's going to be crazy. And I'm sure it will widen out some. But man, the run you get down the straightaways, and you see some push drafting for sure down the straightaway, and people will be lining up. And I think it's going to be really, really hard, and it's going to take a really stellar car to break away from the pack. I think there's going to be a lot of guys just drafting and, getting the run at the end of the straightaway and bonsaiing into the turn. And, at that point, once you're in the turn, you get up on someone's door or something like that, this car's going to be getting loose and all that. So I think it's going to be very, very entertaining, especially on restarts. And I don't think it's really going to spread out that much. I think these cars got so much drag on them. So, watching nationwide practice already, you see there's a couple different theories out there. There's some guys going out there trying to take all the drag off their car and posting fast lap times. Now you look at that and you're like, okay, well, in the race, is that going to be better or is it going to be worse? And none of us know that yet. None of us know if if you're going to want the downforce or you're going to want the speed down the straightaway in your car. So, I think people are trying to find a happy medium out there maybe. So it's a little bit of a guessing game, but it's a lot of fun right now.
Let's go right here.
George Poley, the Macomb Daily. Could you, at this point, can you get a feel for whether you guys as drivers feel like there's more of an unknown this week than there was last week, or are they about the same with the repaves?
I'd say they're about the same. I feel like a lot of us learned a lot last weekend on how these repaves could be. I think we learned a lot at Phoenix about Pocono, and we learned a lot about Pocono for here. So we're all kind of figuring it out little by little. But I think we have to be aware of, look at the first lap of Pocono last week, and it was icy. There's no grip at all, and you've seen that with a lot of guys sliding all over the place. And I was glad I was in the front of it because it looked pretty hairy back there. So, if it rains, I think it's going to change a lot. Hopefully it doesn't rain and the track keeps widening out. But, you've seen at the end of the Pocono race, there's definitely a couple lanes there and people moving around some, and there's some good racing. So I would assume the same thing would happen here, and I assume it'd probably get even wider here. But we'll see. Let's see what happens.
Far right, Mike.
Mike Mullin, MikeMullin.net. Congratulations last weekend. How much side bite do these tires have here? I mean, when you're like racing with somebody and want to make a move to one side or the other, have you guys seen how much side bite you got?
Yeah, I think the tire itself has got a lot of grip. I think the aero balance is going to change a lot. You know, you think, okay, so you're going faster, you're going to have more downforce on your car because you're going 218 miles an hour. Well, now when you lose that downforce, the net changes a lot more. You know, you're going to lose a lot more downforce. So the same goes for side force when you get up next to a car. So you're going to make that move, get underneath them. Are you going to get freer underneath them? Probably will, because you're relying so much on air. You know, so the tire itself has got plenty of grip, and it doesn't fall off that much, and it's very similar to last week. But we're going so fast, we have so much downforce on our cars right now. You'll probably want to be on the outside, but if you get pushed outside the groove, you're not going to want to be on the outside. So I think it's going to be a little combination of, you know, it's going to be definitely give and take out there. It's going to need to be give and take out there unless you're going to see a lot of wrecks like that. But, you know, I say this every week, they're the best race car drivers in the world out there racing against each other. So even when they get in bad spots, it's amazing how many times we pull out of it.
Joey, thanks for coming in, and good luck this weekend, okay?
All right. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.